Okay, so last one before I pass it over to Greg. This is an example of what you will see throughout the webinar today. Okay, there will be a title of what the feature is, and below that is the release number. Okay, so this is what number or what Jonas version you have to be on in order to have access to this feature. Below that, you'll find the path or the file menu to where that feature is located in Jonas or Jonas Activity Management. And you'll have a description of kind of what this release is, followed by a photo just to show you a bit more about the release itself. Okay, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Greg, who's going to start off with what's new in Jonas Club Management.
Perfect. Thank you, Alyssa. Just as a little FYI before we get started here, with all the new features that we've done, we have added a few menu options throughout Jonas. So if you've done an upgrade to your Jonas fairly recently, you might notice these couple of new menu options as you're just sort of scrolling through your list. So not to worry, that is totally intended, and we're going to go through all of those different menu options along with many more other things. So just a little FYI there. But the first one I wanted to talk about today was one that I think is a fantastic new addition to the software. And it's a new addition that you'll see in multiple parts throughout the program and multiple different modules. And it's called this Access Setup Program is what you'll see in Jonas. And I'm going to give you a little demo on how this works and how this can benefit you. But essentially what this is whenever you're in a Jonas program and you have that little lookup list, if you realize while you're looking through that lookup list that you need to add something new in there, we actually give you access to the setup program for that particular thing. And right from this lookup list, you can go in and create a new option in there. So just to give you an exact example here of how that works and how you can use this at your club, I'm going to bring up my Jonas here and I'll show you an example. So let's say I'm the membership coordinator at your club, and I'm going into Jonas here to add a new member into the system. So I'm going to start off the way I normally would. Let's say we'll enter in our new member number. Oh, sorry, choose a new member number here. And then I'll enter in my member's name. Let's say I'll add myself into the system here, Greg Archibald. And as you're filling in the member information, let's say we get down here to our membership types. And I use the lookup list to find my membership type. And all of a sudden I realize, you know what, my new member is actually going to be a dining member. And it just so happens I don't have a dining membership type created. So rather than exiting out of this part of the program and going back into my membership type setups and creating a brand new one, then coming back into this program and assigning it, I can avoid that whole process of exiting out, creating something and coming back in. And I can click this Access Setup Program right here. Right from there, I can set up or add another membership type. And right on the fly right there, I can create a new dining membership type. Just like that. And so very easy for me. I can create those new things on the fly. I don't have to exit out, come back, and abandon all those changes I've made. So it makes my life a lot faster, a lot easier, and all these programs are sort of connected together now, and it just makes it much easier for us to create things in Jonas. So you're going to see that all throughout the program. Like I said, membership types was one of those options. Member statuses is another option. But even in other parts of the program, just to give you a little preview on another spot, in the point of sale, for example, if you go in and set up a new sales item, as you're setting up that new sales item, if you realize that you have to create a new category on the fly, you can do that right from your sales item setup screen. You can access the setup program for sales categories and create a new category right then and there. So in my mind, that's a huge new feature. I love that one. That's a good one that I wanted to just highlight for everybody right off the bat. But moving on to our other modules, we have a few new features here in Accounts Payable. The first one being, it's sort of a common theme here for all these new features, that we created lots of links throughout the program to make things a little faster and easier for you to get to. And so this one here is in the Record Invoices program. we now have a little quick link there to fixed assets. So in case you're inputting an invoice for a fixed asset, there's a really quick link to get to that part of the program. Once again, you don't have to exit out, go into another part, and come back. The next one here, also in accounts payable, has to do with your check numbers. And previously in Jonas, if you hover over that check number field right there, we've always given you your next automatic check number, and we've displayed the last manual check number. But we've always just sort of assumed that the last check number would have been your highest number. But I know at some clubs that's not necessarily the case, especially if let's say you get a new checkbook and your check numbers restart or something along those lines. Now we give you both options. So we will tell you what the highest check number you used, the last number you used, as well as your next automatic check number. Okay, these next 3 slides, 3 very similar themes here. We've added a few new positive pay bank file formats into Jonas. So if any of you out there are a part of these banks, that's fantastic. We have a new file format for them for positive pay program. And so that would include the Fremont Bank here. That also includes Ocean First Bank, and we added Bank of Jackson Hole. So all of those 3 are now in Jonas, if any of you are part of those banks. Now moving on to the administration side of Jonas, there's a couple new features over here. This first one that I'll show you here still sort of follows that same theme of our effort to make your lives a little bit easier and your Jonas a little bit faster for you, more efficient. And for those of you who don't know this, whenever you open up Jonas for the first time, we do a double check sort of in the background to make sure that you have Excel on your computer, Microsoft Excel. And for whatever reason, if you don't have Excel on your computer, specifically if it's, let's say, a remote desktop and you don't have Excel on that remote desktop, you can always turn on that flag to say disable Excel integration. And that way, when you open up Jonas, you don't have to wait all that extra time for Jonas to scan to see if you have Excel. It will remove that scanning portion, make Jonas a little bit faster in the startup, and we'll also disable all of the links to Excel throughout the program. Okay, next one here has to do with the master generator reporting tool. And as a little side note, for those of you who haven't heard of the master generator reports, it's one of my favorite reporting tools because it allows you to create a custom report, bringing in information from your general ledger, from your point of sale sales, your timekeeper information, for example, your employees' hours and pay rates. You can bring information from all those different things into the same report. But the improvement that we've made to it is that when you run the reports and when you print them out, it's up to you what you do with the dates. So you can have the date ranges not displayed in the report, displayed at the end of the report. Totally up to you there. But from now on going forward, whatever option you choose for those dates, we're going to remember that option for the next time you print off those reports. Okay, and then this one's just a reminder from that first feature I decided to show everyone today, that Access Setup program. This is also a part of the administration module, and specifically when you go to add new users into Jonas. If you ever realize that maybe you don't have a job or a function code created for that employee, now you can create a new job code on the fly right from the employee setup screen. Okay, moving into club inventory. A few new features over here. The first one being a very simple one. We added a new label format to the system. And even though this isn't necessarily a groundbreaking improvement for us, I did want to sort of highlight this because a lot of people I find have improvements in the back of their mind that they were wishing we did in Jonas, but they don't necessarily tell us. And so I just wanted to sort of highlight for all of you out there, if you are looking for a change for us to make in the system, let us know. Keep those lines of communication open with us. We're always making changes to the software. And a club reached out to us not long ago wanting a new label format, and we added that into the system. So just wanted to highlight that for you. The next one here has to do with a report that we have in inventory called the linkages to point of sale report. And the reason why this report is so good, and I'll get to the improvements in just a second here, but for those of you who aren't as familiar with the inventory side of Jonas, we actually have 2 databases of items. So we have one database of SKUs, and that's all of your inventoried items. And that is directly connected to another database of sales items, and that's what you actually sell on your point of sale. So every time you sell a sales item, that's connected to your SKU, which depletes your inventory. Now that connection between sales items and SKUs, this report will show you those connections. And of course, you want to make sure that they're all connected, or else you might be selling an item and not necessarily depleting it from your inventory. So this report's linkages to point of sale is a very good one to run. And we've added a few new columns in that report to let you know if a SKU or a sales item is active or inactive. We're also showing you the item description and the partition that that item belongs to. So whether it's a golf item, a food and beverage item, we just give you a little bit more information in this report, which is fantastic. But as a little side note, if any of you have the inventory module, I would run this report every once in a while, just to make sure your system is all linked together and accurate. And that brings us into club management. A few new features here in club management. The first one has to do with a third party that we connect with, and that's the Fidelio property management system, PMS system. And a very simple change here, but we've decided to separate out the taxes in that integration to that third-party software. And so now we're separating out the HST/GST, separating out the province or state tax and other taxes. Okay. And just like it says there, it can be useful for displaying Jonas point of sale taxes on the Fidelio side, the Fidelio folios. Okay, this next one here, I'm a really big fan of this program. So I just wanted to take a quick moment to highlight this for you. In Jonas, we have a program called Club Automation. And if you haven't heard of this one before, this program allows you to run certain processes or certain reports automatically for you at any point in time. And so I'm going to jump into Jonas and show you all the different things that can be automated in your Jonas. But the actual feature here that I wanted to highlight is we added another report to Club Automation, and that's the sales by hour and day of week report. But just to go into a little bit more detail here just for a minute, this is, I should mention, this is an extra purchasable module. So if anybody is interested in this one, by all means, send us a message in the questions box on your screen and let us know. But we have this module right here under Club Management called Club Automation. And this list right here that you see on the screen, these are all of the different things that you can have Jonas run automatically for you. So whether that's applying your members' dues, running your age receivables report, and even if we scroll down, there's other modules, certain things in the general ledger module, accounts payable, inventory, even your night audit for the hotel side. All of these things can be run automatically. And if it's a report that you're running, you can have that report be emailed to you. You can have it print off on your printer automatically. That's completely up to you. So all of these different things that you see on the screen, you can have Jonas run automatically, including that new feature that we added, which is the sales by hour and day of week report. Okay. The next one here has to do with most of you, if there's anybody in the line from the UK, you're probably using the levy system. And in the levy system activity report, we added a new column there to include the audit number. So just in case you need to track some things down, some transactions, much easier to track things down if you have that audit number. So we do give that to you on the report, just in case. And then another little feature here from one of the third parties that we interface with again. We interface with a program called Jonas Quorum, and they're more of a hotel type of software. And when you're doing a lookup for a member, you have a bunch of different lookup options. So you can look them up by last name, room number, confirmation number, and it's completely up to you which one of those lookups you activate. So you can activate certain ones, deactivate certain ones. That's completely up to you. Okay, the next one here has to do with your age receivables list. I'm sure all of you run this quite often. But normally on the age receivable list, we will give you a printout of how much a member is currently owing, how much they are 1 month overdue, 2 months overdue, 3 months, and 4+ months. But now we've added an extra field there for the actual number of days that they're overdue. And as a little bit of a side note here, for those of you who haven't seen this before, almost every single report that you can run in Jonas, rather than just hitting print and view, which is I'm sure what most of us do, right beside that print button, you'll notice this little export button is highlighted. If you click into export instead of print, and then you go into this little columns button, every single report in Jonas, you can actually pick and choose the columns that you want to include in your report. So instead of doing the full detailed age receivables list, you could just print off the net amount and the days old if you want. You probably want more columns than just that, but the point is that you can pick and choose which columns you want in your report. Okay, next feature here has to do with your member statements. And if anybody out there is using the Jonas user configurable statement, which is a very common one to use, that allows you to edit certain things on your member statements. And there are a ton of different things that you can edit, whether it's the alignments, the color coding, anything like that. All of those things are editable. And now we've allowed you to edit these things as well. So on the member statement, it normally shows how many days they're overdue, 30-day balance, 60-day, 90-day balance. And now you can rename those fields if you want to. So you can say 1 month overdue, 2 months overdue. That's completely up to you. Just another part of the configurable section of your statements. Okay, and speaking of member statements, if you don't want to use the user configurable one, we have a ton of other statements that are pre-designed and custom designed for clubs out there. And we just added one in where the main feature of this statement design is that it includes sticky notes on the actual member statement. And for those of you who haven't heard of sticky notes before, that's one of the many fantastic features we have in Jonas, where you can add it's called exactly that, sticky notes to certain transactions, more so just sort of notes for you to track and to view if you need a report off of something. So now your members will see those sticky notes on their statement as well. Okay, we also have a little integration with another program, a third-party software called Gimme4. And I would encourage you all to give them a look online, Google Gimme4. And it's essentially an online ordering type of software that your members can access through their phones. And everything that's rung up through that Gimme4 software, we now have an upload into Jonas. So all the sales that are rung up on there can just be uploaded right into Jonas and charged right back to your members. Okay, another program that I'm a really big fan of, it's called the Advanced Document Management module. And this one is a purchasable extra module, but in my mind, it's well worth it. Because the Advanced Document Management module allows you to not only look up any documents that you have in Jonas, but you can also add documents into the system. So in my years of being an implementation specialist here at Jonas, I've visited a lot of clubs and seen a lot of controllers' offices, which usually also means that I've seen stacks and stacks of paper sitting around people's offices. And so this advanced document management, this allows you to scan your paper copies of everything into Jonas, so you can just have the e-version instead. And the actual feature that we've done here is that when you scan things into the system, you can now choose what file format you want those scans to be. Okay, and again, like I mentioned, if you have any questions about these modules that I'm referring to, just let us know in that questions box. We can always go into more detail. In regards to minimums, if any of you out there charge minimums to your member, we've always had a little minimum inquiry screen in the member's profile. But the edit that we've made to this is that if a change to the member's minimums resulted in a net zero change, we previously didn't show you any information about it, but now we do. So for example, this member had $100 applied to their minimums, and then it looks like that charge was reversed and the $100 was taken out. And so rather than not showing you any of that, we still show you, even though it resulted in a net zero change, we still show you that transaction, that something happened there. Okay, also in regards to minimums, if you go into the member's account inquiry and you look at all their charges and all the action that happened on their statement, we now give you an extra little line down there for the minimums applied to that member's minimums. So just a little bit more information to help you drill down on those minimums. Okay, the next one here has to do with credit cards in Jonas. And for those of you who don't know as well, we have a module called Credit Card PAPs, which stands for Pre-Authorized Payments. And a lot of clubs have this module. This is another purchasable one. But if you'd like to set up pre-authorized credit card payments in Jonas for your members, we have a couple different credit cards processing companies that we deal with. We have companies like Elevon, Shift4, Credit Line, and now we added a new one there for WorldPay. So just giving you more options and more companies to go with. Right, and this next feature here has to do with the cleanups in Jonas. And within almost every single one of our modules, we have a couple different cleanup options, especially if you've had Jonas at your club for years and years and years. It's probably a good idea to do cleanups every once in a while. And if you're doing a cleanup in club management, when you run this program called Transfer Info to History, we now give you a little blurb at the bottom to tell you the last time somebody transferred information to history and who did it the last time. Now, as a little bit more on this topic, we do have bootcamp webinars specifically for system cleanups. And in those webinars, we walk through every module and how you can clean that up at your club, which will most definitely make your Jonas a little bit faster and easier to use. So for those of you who do have a little bit of a messy system or just a lot of information in Jonas, would highly recommend you look into the system cleanup bootcamps. And then as a reminder, again, we have that access setup program in all sorts of modules around Jonas, club management being one of them. So once again, you can create a new member status on the fly as you're setting up a member if you need to. That transitions us into the general ledger module. And for this one, I'm going to pass it over to Rob McCann.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning, everybody. My name is Rob McCann. I will go through the general ledger, some various accounting features, some payroll features, point of sale, and some tea time features. Okay, so welcome. So I'm going to get started here with the first slide here. Okay, so the first feature here that I'm going to show you is in the financial statements. We have a program called the Financial Statement Drill Downs. Okay, it's in the general ledger itself. If you have never been in there, you should go in there. It actually allows you to see what accounts make up a certain number on your financial statement. Okay, so if you're wondering where that 10,000 come from, it could be made up of various chart of accounts. So the feature we've added in here is that refresh button that's circled there. So if I'm working in and looking at the month of July, I just want to see how we're doing so far in this month of July. And I'm taking a look at the various accounts, departments, and so forth. As things get posted through the accounting department and so forth, I can hit the refresh button and get an updated numbering system of my financial statement. Okay, so I don't know, after before you had to actually exit out of there and then come back in to see for the month of July, if I was working on July, what are my new fresh numbers. Okay, so that's a fantastic feature. It's a time saver. You don't have to get out and then just come back in. You can just stay inside the program. You can change your dates, check out a different month, June, May, so forth. Okay. Okay, and then similar to what Greg was saying about the access features. So like you mentioned, they're all over the system. They're going to be in pretty much every program coming up. Okay, so the development's doing a great job on this. It's a fantastic feature. So like you mentioned, I could be in a certain module. I want to maybe add a new bank account there at the bottom, but I don't have it set up, so I could just use that access setup program and go create a brand new GL account. Okay, now I do have to have access to setting up GL accounts. So for any accounts out there that are worried that, you know, somebody who doesn't shouldn't be in the general ledger setup, they won't be able to get there if they don't have access to it. Okay, so combination there. But for anybody that does, it's quick, easy to click on the access setup program, create yourself a new bank account, and away you go. Okay, so now I'm going to cover a feature in our hotel management. So a lot of our clients have our hotel modules. You know, they let their members stay there, the guests of the members, so forth. Okay. So this particular feature is great for the accountants out there. So a lot of government agencies will require a tax invoice number. So this can be generated on a folio in the hotel. So a folio is the bill that when you check out, you get. It's your receipt of your stay every night that you were charged and any particular charges you had. So if you turn on this flag here, using our standard Jonas folio, okay, when the guest checks out, this flag is on, and Jonas will automatically generate a tax invoice number. It'll print out on the folio for the guest, and as well the client or the club itself gets to keep a copy of that folio. It will always be in Jonas. Okay, so great, nice feature accounting wise. Okay, feature here in the payroll module. Okay, so for anybody using our Canadian or US payroll, okay, it's the same feature in both modules. Okay, so we have a program called Employee Pay View. So if I want to check and see what the deductions were for a certain employee, what their net pay was, how it all was comprised of, before this new feature, you had to print it out. Okay, so waste paper, you got your ink, which costs lots of money these days. So now we've added the PDF button. Okay, a lot of clients like to use the PDF. Now you can just click on the PDF. You want to look up Milo's payroll pay stub. You can view that, save it, email it off to the employee if you wish. Okay, and also before we used to print the company name. Okay, so now we actually print your company's address as well. Okay, for the employee and for yourself. Okay, so 2 new features there in one. Okay, so next we're going to move into the point of sale. Go over some features there. Okay, so this program itself has been there for a long time, the point of sale event management. So that's part of point of sale. It's free. It's inside there already. I find a lot of clubs use it. It's a mass billing program. Okay, so if you want to mass bill people for golf lessons, swimming lessons, you want to bill them for Mother's Day, member events, whatever you want to bill them for, and then you're going to get your members will get archived copies of chits to go with their statements. Okay, this is a perfect program. So what we've done here is we've changed the grid screen a little bit. Where now in the first column where you see member number, there's a lookup magnifying glass. Okay, most clients are used to that. Then when you click on that, you'll know there's something there. Before you just had to press F2. Now you can just click on that lookup ball. Okay, magnifying glass. Okay, and then also same thing for that sales item. There's a magnifying glass there as well. Okay, and you can right click on that grid and you can print out all your members' information that you've entered there. Okay, and if as members sign up for say Mother's Day and somebody has to drop off for whatever reason, you can just right click and delete them out of there as well. Okay, and as well we added an F11 feature, which is a time saver. So if I've entered one member already, and I'm going to be charging everybody for Mother's Day, I can just press F11 after I've done my first member, and I select my second member, then I can press F11. It starts to pull in the quantity, the sales item, and the price of above. So it's a time saver. I don't have to keep entering the same thing over and over again. Okay, obviously I can change it if I need to. So that's a great feature there. Okay, definitely want to check that out for mass billing and point of sale. Okay, also in our point of sale, since the pandemic started, we came out with this online ordering. Actually came out with it before the pandemic, but then it's changed due to the pandemic as far as what we've done with it. So if you have it or if you don't have it, it's a great feature. Your members can order food, beverage, golf, whatever you have at your club online. Okay, so the feature we have here is the one on the left there where you have the save as. After you've created your first outlet, because some clubs I've seen create 1, 2, 3, 4 outlets. Could be the golf, could be the clubhouse, could be the snack bar, so forth, or even takeout, they call it, whatever you want. You can, once you've created one outlet, then you can just hit the save as button. All that work you've done creating one outlet, hit the save as, this menu pops up, says give it a new code, and you've just got yourself a whole new other outlet. Obviously you're going to change the name of it and so forth, whatever you need to. So that's a big time saver for you. Okay, and then on the right hand side, if you've ever created a menu, which is this list of like appetizers, entrees, desserts, so forth. Once I've created one, say let's say I had an outlet called the takeout, I could then just copy my food menus over to my other outlet called the snack bar. Okay, so that's a time saver as well. So you just got to do it once and just copy it over. Okay, and then if you need to tweak it, you can. Okay, so those are both nice features. Okay, another feature here, I find a lot of clients have used this. So in point of sale, there's 2 programs where I can close either all my chits if I was a server, or if I was a manager, I could close all my service chits. Okay, so in both those programs, you need to have a member charge button on your point of sale settlement screen, okay, which is your payment screen. So it always had to be a member charge, but the feature that we've added here is it could be now a quick member charge. Some clients just have a quick member, some just have a member charge. It doesn't matter anymore, you just need one or the other, or both, doesn't matter. And that will allow you to go ahead and close those chits. Okay, so a nice little feature. Okay, so here's that access program again in the sales items. So once again, if I wanted to, I've got an item, I want to create a brand new category. Maybe it's called vegan food or healthy food or whatever I'm going to create. I may need to create a brand new category. Okay. Now keep in mind, inside the categories are journal ledgers. So if I get a staff that doesn't have access to it, they won't be able to unless they have access to that particular setup program itself. So, but fantastic feature, time saver. So glad it's here. Okay, so sticking with point of sale, we have mobile point of sale. Okay, you can have it on your phone. Okay, and also now the new feature that we've done here is now it's been released to have it on your tablet. Okay, so tablet's a great feature. You got it in landscape mode here. Okay, so it's a purchasable module. And so you get your tablet. So rather than going to a stationary machine, if I was a server, I can then have this tablet with me, put it in my apron. You can put your hand behind some of these tablets and just carry it around, go to each table, from table to table, send your order to the kitchen just like regular, rather than going back to the computer and I got to wait in line with other servers. So that's a fantastic feature, time saver. It's going to be faster service for everybody. Okay, now this tablet, it so far just works with our Androids out there, okay? So just so you know, it's going to be at least a minimum 7 inches, but all that information will be in that little Jonas Club there, that blue link there. There's a brochure, it tells you about hardware requirements and so forth if you're interested in that as well. And then sticking with the mobile point of sale, what used to happen is if you've created menus before, some of the buttons you don't use them all. Okay, there's quite a few buttons there you can pick and choose from. But if you left some blank buttons, those blank buttons didn't carry forward, okay, to the mobile point of sale. But now with the new feature, we've made a change to it. Is we realize a lot of clients want those blank buttons to follow through for aesthetic reasons. So now any blank buttons, you don't have a particular sales item inside that button, the blank button will carry forward to your mobile POS. Okay, so now I'm going to go into tea time management. So hopefully we have some golf pros out there. Okay, so this is a brand new program. Greg touched on this at the beginning as one of the new programs we have in our software. This is called Tea Time Notifications Program. Okay, before we've always had a Pro Shop notifications. Okay, this is Tea Time Notifications. Okay, so the 4 new things we've put in here, well, there's one of the first ones in the list. There's the upcoming Tea Time reminder. We've actually taken that out of the Pro Shop notifications and put it inside this Tea Time Notifications program. Okay, you can do club communications. You just want to let the members know about a sale in the golf shop. Okay, fantastic. Or any tournaments coming up, so forth, sign up for something. Okay, and then a big one that I know a lot of golfers have been asking for is the TBD member booking reminder. Okay, so if I booked myself for whatever day of the week and I didn't know who I was going to bring, you could do a TBD player. Okay, which is to be determined. So a lot of clubs find that members don't end up switching those TBD players out to actual members or guests, and then they got the slot to themselves if I book myself with 3 other TBDs. So that's not very good utilization of the course itself and revenue. Okay, so we got this TBD. I'm going to go into Jonas here shortly and show you that. And lastly is a feature in there, you get an email marketing. So if you have our Cho email marketing feature program, okay, that's another option there for you. Okay. Now there is a TBD program where you can actually wipe out those players. Okay. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so first I just want to show you here, I've got a reservation for tomorrow. Okay. Right there. So this member here, Mr. Jones. Okay, so Mr. Stephen Jones, and this player here is a TBD player. Okay, you can make them TDB inside JCM or online. Okay, there's an option to have that set up online as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do in this feature here tea time notifications. Okay, so it's right there, just below the pro shop notifications. Okay. Now you can, there's my 3. I don't have the email marketing piece. So in here, if you're gonna go, you put a subject, TBDs. You can type in what you want to let them know that those TBD players are going to be wiped out either 1 day before, 2 days before. Every club's a little different. But what we've added here, this is configurable. These are mail merge fields. So we have a lot of mail merge programs in our software. You can bring these over and start typing up dear so-and-so. So I've already got one set up here. So let me just show you this. So I'm going to load my design, TBD reminders, hit OK. Okay. So this is the information I have in there. Dear first and last member. So I'm going to show you the email that I get my Outlook here. So tomorrow is the 14th. Okay. So what I can do first is I can email my members that let them know that, hey, your TBD players are going to be removed today. Okay, so I have control when I actually send this, and I actually have control when I actually wipe out those TBD players as well. And this plus the wiping out of the TBD players can be used in the club automation that Greg went through. Okay, so that's a fantastic module that it showed you that you can do all kinds of stuff without somebody actually doing something. Okay. Especially with these days with staff shortages and so forth. Okay, so I just need to hit this little button here. It's gonna go through. Okay, and there's my TBD reminder. Oh, let me just show you my Outlook. Sorry, you guys probably can't see that. I remember that from the other day. There we go. So there it is there. Dear Stephen Jones, you have a reservation on Thursday, July 14th that contains a TBD player. These TBD players will actually be expired on Wednesday, July 13th, which is actually today. Okay. 2 players tells them all the information about the reservation. So it's a fantastic new feature that I know a lot of golf pros have been asking about. Okay. So along the same sidelines here, we have our Tea Time Reservation Export program. Okay, you can do all kinds of reports inside there. Okay, you want to run, find out all kinds of reports about your players. But the new features here, we've added 2 new features there in the red brackets there. A TDB member reminder. So that email I just sent, which went to myself, did I actually send those? You know, because if I don't have the club automation, did I manually run that? So maybe I'm a head pro. I want to make sure that my assistant ran it. I can just set this up. Have those 2 flagged with some various other flags like the players' names, the dates, and so forth. I can then see which members, or if the actual reminder was sent to my members to remove the TBDs and replace them with actual members or guests. Okay, so another little tool to help you out. Okay, and then we have another new feature here in the Tea Time. Okay, it's kind of neat. You can do open, you can track how many open bookings your players have, okay? So let's say a social member, normally maybe they're bumped up to 10 free rounds a year, I'm not sure. But as an example, let's say it's a social member, they're allowed 10 rounds per year. I set up a regular rounds of golf rule for them, which is 10 rounds per year. But I also want to do an open bookings. I don't want that social member to start booking all 10 right now and they pick Saturday morning, right? Which is the best time of the week. So I want to cut that back and say maybe they can only have 2 open rounds, okay, per month. It's completely up to you how you want to play this out, but let me just quickly show you inside Jonas once again. Okay, so where that is. Okay, so that's in the Tea Time files, rounds of golf. Okay. And I've got a rule here. So there's your regular rules for, I've set it up for your 10 rounds per year. Okay, just a regular, straight, simple rule there. But our new features here, open bookings. Okay, and it's the same screen, just called open bookings. It's going to track only open bookings, those that haven't been canceled, checked in, or no show. Okay, so that's an open booking, in case you're wondering. So I just said two rounds per month. Okay. Okay, so I already got this rule linked to one of my members. Okay, member 1717. So I'm going to try and book 3 open rounds for the same member. Okay, so there's one. Oh, Sorry. That's right. I've already kept them in the system. Yeah, so I didn't get rid of those rounds from the other day. Okay. This will be in the afternoon. There he's there, 17-17. I've already got 2 in there. So when I try and do the third one, okay, Jonas says, no, you've already got 2 open rounds. Okay, this would be your third. Now that would be complete up to the golf shop to allow that person to actually do that. Okay, obviously online, that member will not be allowed to have this option. Okay, so nice little feature there. Okay, and then sticking with the tea time, we have the member handicaps. Okay, so for anybody using the GIN handicap system, Jonas now will, when you go to set up this program, the profile itself, so that's the beginning of doing your handicap system setup. Jonas, that last field where it says club ID, you can click on that magnifying glass. Okay, it was never there before. And Jonas will then show you which clubs have full permissions to for Jonas to access the USGA for when your members enter their scores after they play golf. Okay, then or after they play, they enter the score. Jonas will now tell you which club. So if your club's not there, you want to speak out to the to your association and ask them for full access, so Jonas can access those scores that the members have entered. Okay, so this will be a time saver. So it's a brand new feature there. Okay, and timekeeper, I believe this is my last feature here. So anybody that has our timekeeper and or shift manager shift manager, it's a module that you can actually do scheduling online and so forth. Very, very neat. But the new flag that we've added in here is in the department team. So like your bar, kitchen, pro shop, food and beverage, okay, accounting. So if you turn on this flag and you set up schedules, and I'm supposed to start work at 9, and I put in there, say, maximum 12 minutes. If I clock in at 9:10, then Jonas will use my schedule time, which is 9 o'clock. Okay, because reason being, you might want to do that. You get a lot of people at the computer trying to clock in at the same time. Okay, so that's the idea of it. You get a bunch of people trying to clock in. They're there already trying to clock in, but they can't because other people are trying to do so. Okay, so the maximum is 14 minutes in that field. If you left it blank, then the maximum is 20. Okay. Okay, so that's it for myself. Thank you, and I'm going to pass this over to Robert.
Okay, as Alyssa mentioned earlier, I will be taking us through the what's new in Jonas Activity Management in the second quarter of 2022. And we'll start off with activity tracking. So activity tracking is a module that we introduced a couple years back to track people coming in at various points of the club, what they're actually going to be partaking in terms of activities, what facilities they're going to be using, and ability to charge guests and count the number of guests that are bringing. But what we didn't have was a way to track the guests specifically by name and or by name and creating a guest record. So what we've introduced is really 2 new flavors to this. So initially it was all going to be do not capture guest information. You're basically just enumerating guests and you're applying charges to those guests in that case. What we've introduced is the ability to capture either guest name and email address or create a guest profile. In both cases, we're going to require the member checking them in to enter the guest's name as well as their email address so that we can create records for them. If a record already exists, we won't create a new one if it matches on both of those parameters. And it'll also provide members the ability to select among previously added guests. So when you select either of these, the member experience on check-in changes somewhat. So the member will have the ability to still enumerate the number of guests that are going to be coming with them, and then once they add 1 or more, they'll be able to enter guest info. So if I added 2 in this case, I'd be able to either select the previous guest, and that's someone that I brought previously. It'll show the list of guests to the member, or I have the ability to enter a new guest. So this user experience applies in both cases: capture guest name and email address or create a guest record. So the first case, we're just going to capture the information. We're not going to create a guest record in the guest database. The second, obviously, we're going to capture the same information and create a record that can be used going forward for any other purposes. So beyond just activity tracking, if you're going to make bookings on behalf of an existing guest, you can track them in there as well, in all the other modules as well. You can see here when I add a new guest, I just put in the first name, last name, and email address, and then I can save it. If I'm selecting a previous guest, it's going to show all the guests that I added previously. and I can select one to add them to a given check-in. Then from a tracking perspective, the club has the ability to view the guests that were checked in a couple different ways. The first of which is the monitoring screen, where it'll show all the activity of who's been checked in. And you'll see here when you're adding a guest, where you're creating a guest profile, it's going to assign them a number. In the case where you're not creating a guest profile, it's going to show NA, but it'll still capture the name of the guest and show them as part of this check-in that took place at 8:59 or 9:20, whatever the case may be. But we handle it differently. There's a status also assigned to them. That's a status you determine when you're setting up the creating new guests in activity tracking. The second option is the report. So the activity report will track those, and you can say include captured guest name information. So for for guests for whom we have not created a profile, check this flag to make sure you see that information. When the report outputs, you can see who's been checked in. So in this particular instance, I've grouped by member and check-in. So it's going to show me this one check-in record that I checked in myself, as well as Ronnie Duguay. And in this case, I created a guest profile and the member code is populated, versus this other case where I checked in myself, Ron Mexico, and Aaron Ramsey, but I didn't create guest profiles because it wasn't configured as such during that time. And you'll see they don't have a guest or member code or a client code specified within the report because they're just captured. In the other flavor of the activity report, where it's just listing by check-ins, again, you'll see those that were created a guest profile in blue have the member code and have a status, versus those who were checked in without creating profiles have neither a member code nor a status. So this is intended for situations where you have, busy areas where members are self-checking in, like the pool or maybe the fitness center, and bringing guests is allowed. You'll have the ability to see who came, how often, when they came, and with whom they came if a member is bringing them. From a court booking perspective, we added a couple of things. So for those clubs that are using our waitlist functionality, where members can make requests for courts that are already booked at a given time to be added to the waitlist and then automatically receive an offer when that court becomes available, we've added the ability to delete waitlist blocks while the waiting list is disabled. So we have a waiting list. We have the ability to disable the waiting list. In that disabled state, it affords you the ability to rearrange your schedule. What it didn't allow you to do was take any of those bookings that were awaiting a response from an offered member and remove that block. So what we've done is we've said, okay, when you disable the waiting list and you're rejigging your schedule, moving blocks around, moving bookings around to better optimize your courts, you couldn't delete those offers that were outstanding. Now you have the ability to delete those waiting list blocks and effectively expire the offers that have been sent to members. What'll happen is once you rejig your schedule, you complete all your tasks and you re-enable the waiting list will reevaluate the availability remaining on the schedule versus those requests that are in queue, and it'll resend out offers. Any of those old offers, unfortunately, once they're sent via email, there's really no way to take them back. So the members can click on the links, it'll tell them the offer is no longer valid. If they receive a new email with a new offer for a new court at a new time, then that offer will be valid. But it allows you to better manage your schedule in that disabled state so that you can put it in the position you want it, re-enable it, resend out the offers, and allow members to act on those. Second thing we added was the ability for you to send charges through to point of sale without interacting with the assign charges screen. So the assign charges screen is intended for you to take the charges that are applicable to various members on the booking. So a lot of times if you have member privilege-based charges, based on the privilege a member is assigned a fee, previously you would have to interact with the assign charges screen, then send it to point of sale, and then the charges would be applied and distributed amongst all the players in the booking. This change basically says, I don't need to force the assign charges screen. Whatever charges are applied to the various members in the booking will create individual tickets in point of sale. So you can see here, on this booking, I have 3 charges. 2 are assigned to 1977, 1 is assigned to 2023. When under this new regime of always assign charges to the appropriate client is checked, you will no longer hit that assign charges screen. You'll go directly to point of sale. That's not to say you don't have access to the assign charges screen if you need to split a particular charge. So if you wanted to split these court fees among the 2 members, you could go to assign charges and do that. You just won't be forced to hit it. And without forcing it, you're going to have 2 tickets in point of sale, one for $110 for 1977 and another for $65 on member 2023. So you don't have to interact with it. However, should you need to split it, a particular item among both members, you can still do that by clicking on the Assign Charges button. Last thing we did was adding some additional rules to the privilege setup to exclude members in positions 3 or greater from being evaluated with respect to bookings per period. So for example, if someone makes a doubles booking on behalf of 4 people, players 1 and 2 will have that booking counted towards their limit, whereas players 3 and 4 will not. And that's all subject to this flag being checked within the privilege, where it says bookings for players 3+ do not count towards restrictions. So if this is checked and a booking is made for 3 or more players, players in positions 3 or higher will not count towards their bookings per period rules. So if you had 1 booking per week and you already had a booking on Monday, and you were making another booking for Tuesday, or someone was making another booking for Tuesday on your behalf and you were player 3 or 4, that booking wouldn't count towards your per period count and thus would be allowed, because you wouldn't actually be in violation of that 1 per week rule, because that second one didn't really count. So nice feature if you have members making bookings on behalf of multiple people and you want to exclude players 3 or 4 from those counts.